For January the 10th, 2020, we talk about Pokemon Sword, Wilmot's Warehouse, and we ask you which games you keep playing in your head after you shut them off. Welcome to Level 311. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Smith.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. I was gonna start with a joke about 311 because this is episode number 311. And amber being the color of energy and such. But did David, you glitched out to the point where it kind of sounded like you were Max Headroom a little bit, which was good and fun. Yeah.
I support this.
That's all that that's the only story. I mean,
well, we have to save that bit until we're at episode 1311.
Yep. I mean, at that point, it'll be a podcast about the global water conflict. But yeah, no.
Amber will be the color of what we're trapped in at that point.
Yeah.
A podcast for anyone still surviving out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It went bleak pretty quick, but we're okay.
So I did notice. I don't know if I have a comment on it, but in Far Cry New Dawn, one of the random NPC dialogues is, "Man, what are we gonna do when we run out of duck feed?"
Oh yeah. What? Ooh, do we have a listener working at Ubisoft?
I'm thinking it's probably just bad audio recording / a strong accent on what are we going to do when we run out of duct tape. But I definitely choose to believe that that in the post-apocalypse, people are getting by with a little help from duck feed.
Yeah, I mean, it would take you several weeks to listen to everything we put out, so. Yeah. And sometimes
that's an understatement, I would guess.
At a certain point, so several weeks is all we're going to have left, so it works out. Yeah.
God damn it! I'm so mad about the world ending because I won't be able to finish my podcast backlog.
Nope. Oh, okay. Yeah. Forget it, man. It's gone. The podcast backlog is never going to end.
And the world isn't worth having anyway.
Oh well.
You just need multiple computers playing podcasts at the same time to cut down the hours.
Yep. Actually, if you start WAF episode 242, I don't know if you're up that high. Right when you start The Wizard of Oz, it actually lines up really interestingly.
Yeah, we did that intentionally. No, we didn't. Oh, yeah. Who's got something cool going on? Dennis, you got kids. You've usually got some cool stuff going on. What's happening?
Guys, I have the freaking coolest kid things ever, but it belongs in the grind. So I'm saving this one.
Okay.
So I'm just going to remain silent and bounce in my chair excitedly until we get to that part.
Okay, reasonable enough. I don't want to say my dumb story because it doesn't really have a point or a punchline. So, David, you're in New York City, the most hip happening place. What's going on out there?
Yeah, I got nothing. We're heading into hibernation mode.
Yeah. No. Okay.
This is just a week of disappointing Cole.
I guess.
Cole, how can I let you down?
Well, I don't know. What you been up to, bud?
Not much.
Oh, damn it!
I was on call last week, so I just stayed in my apartment for the most part.
Yeah.
Cole's story only works if it's the most boring story out of the four of us. So we've ruined it.
No, I mean it's dumb. So last night I went to see the new Star Wars. It's fine. Whatever. But the reason I waited so long is because I can't stand being in a crowded movie theater. Like, I hate having somebody like right next to me, and it's a very popular movie. And like yesterday was the only time where where I saw a showing where the theater was less than half full. Okay.
I was going to say popular in the sense that a lot of people are going to it, not that a lot of people like it. Correct?
I mean, I suppose that's the thing. A lot of people are going to see it.
There need to be enough think pieces disparaging it that it becomes hipster and cool to like it, and then we'll make that turn.
No, there'll be a backlash to the backlash to the backlash.
Yeah.
5 days from now.
I need to investigate. Is your dislike of full movie theaters dependent on the type of chair? Like, you can go to certain ones and there's like the big luxe chairs that auto recline, and there's plenty of arm space on either side.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
It honestly doesn't. Like, if I have to exist near, it changes if I'm there with somebody, but I see movies alone most of the time. If I go with a friend or with somebody, like, it's fine if they're right next to me or whatever. But, like, just a stranger, nah, that ain't it. And normally I get go ahead.
I was going to do a dumb bit. I was going to say, I'm surprised Mansfield can pack one movie theater, let alone multiple.
So, no, I mean, on Ontario, the town where the theater is, serves a good number of towns around it. Maybe it's like it is the only theater, not the only theater. It pulls people from the surrounding area.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's fairly well attended theater, and my normal strategy is to avoid being around a bunch of people is to go early in the morning. Like, I'll just go to the first showing whenever it is. If you go at 9 a.m. on a weekday, guess what? Nobody's going to be there. It's good. Mm-hmm. So I picked my seat, and I picked the seat that I wanted. I was down in the front row, so I could put my feet on the rail. Not like the front row, but the front row of the upper section. Gotta put my feet on the rail. Come on. And I was just most of the row to myself. And this psychotic older couple, they had an entire row of seats to choose from. They come up and sit right next to me.
Oh no.
Yes.
They could.
Yes.
and the weird thing was they bracketed him.
No,
no, that's where you flip out.
No,
classic setup for a mugging.
Yeah, no.
Maybe this is now me tapping into the New York thing. Like, if you're walking down the street and you're passing someone and they pass, choose to pass on either side of you. Mm-hmm. That's the time where you were completely justified and like getting your hands up ready to roll.
Yeah, no, no jury would convict me, honestly. And like, it wasn't that big of a deal because I just moved down one seat and I had the buffer that I needed between them on my right and the other people on my left. But like, man, you had so many places you could have gone
the entire time.
They were talking the whole time too, and I could hear them breathe. So,
oh man,
yeah.
There could be an explanation for this though, because I know at least with Alamo Draft House, when you choose seats online, you can't leave a single seat space in between the other person. You have to either get close to them or you have to be like 2 or more seats away from them.
Okay. Huh.
That could be the situation.
It could have been, but there were so many places that they could have gone, and they still sat down right next to me. And,
I see.
So I only moved once the actual movie started, so I was sure there wasn't going to be somebody else in the seat that I moved to, right? Because somebody else, might have reserved that seat. But like, man, it's still like that. Am I wrong? Like, that's the behavior of crazy people, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you were definitely being groomed for a serial murder.
So I only escaped. I escaped by the skin of my teeth. Yeah.
Yep.
Is it bad? I couldn't tell who you were asking about when you said if that was the behavior of a crazy person.
I was about to make that joke. Yeah. I don't know. Don't crowd me, man.
Hey,
anyway,
those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
We can all be crazy. Mm-hmm. Oh, so that's my story. It's very boring. So
I know there's a similar thing I was having a conversation with some coworkers about on the subway. Just the issue of one, like, if you're on the subway and there's empty seats and someone sits down next to you, that's definitely a crazy person. But then also the question of, are they a crazy person if when they sat down, there were free seats or no free seats, but then everyone else gets off and they keep sitting right next to you?
I don't know. I think it's fraught. I think it's fraught. If somebody sat down next to me, I just stand up. The seats are uncomfortable anyway. Anyway, yeah, just don't get close to me.
Theater etiquette. It feels like there should be a good portmanteau for theater etiquette.
Fetiquette?
Fetiquette. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of breakpoints you could smash them together at. It's tough to choose.
The terms and conditions.
Yeah.
And they wonder why theaters are going out of business. I don't know. Am I the only person who doesn't like it? Am I wrong? I know I'm belaboring this, but at that point, it's part of the joke. It's part of the joke. So,
no, I war game so much about, like, one, how to pick the right spot that will not, offend anyone around me, but then two, how to make sure that spot does not become the wrong spot by some asshat sitting down next to me.
Yeah.
This sparks a story. In college, Jen was interning out in Chicago, and I would take the megabus from Cincinnati to Chicago.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar?
Yeah, it's super. I've never done it, but I've looked at the rates. It's like $5 to go that route, something like that.
Oh yeah, it's they advertise like rates as low as $1. I've never seen that, but I'm sure they did it for one person one time and then put it on other buses.
Yeah.
Anyway, those buses, especially Cincinnati to Chicago, fill up pretty quickly, and it's easy to get stuck next to someone for a very long ride, and that's uncomfortable. But I had a strategy. So you gotta come with a backpack. You put your backpack on the window seat, and then you sit on the inside seat. I had gigantic, big over-ear headphones before that was relatively commonplace. We put those on with music, turned up all the way. And here's the clutch. I had a big-ass study Bible, and would just sit down, pop that sucker open, and start reading until the bus started moving, and no one ever bothered me. It was perfect.
And then you can just start asking about Jesus if they do sit down. They will quickly leave.
Yeah, no, muttering to yourself can keep people away real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, so I empathize with the seat antagonism.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best strategy is you purposely sit down next to someone banking that they will get up and move down a spot to guarantee that you have your own spot. It could have been a power play.
Yeah, pull a Captain America. No, you move. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my story. I don't know how great I feel about myself, but at the very least, I didn't have to sit next to somebody.
For all the seat drama, or for having gone to see Star Wars?
Whatever. I participated in the culture. It was fine.
Which Star Wars? Is this the Mandalorian one?
No, episode 9. I don't know. If you had expectations that were high enough to be broken, I don't know what to tell you. And I liked episode 8. It was fine, but no, you just those movies exist to serve a particular purpose.
Make Disney money.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I went with my younger sister. Star Wars is one of our things that we have together, and I walked out delighted that I spent the time that I did. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. Bright flashing lights and loud noises and characters and themes that you recognize. Yeah, especially if you're bonding with somebody over it. Yeah, it's fine. I thought it was very funny that this movie was like a gigantic foot coming down with the full force of billions and billions of dollars and cultural hegemony just stomping down and saying Finn and Poe are straight.
Yeah, it's so funny. I've had this thought rumbling around my head. I don't know where to deposit it, so you guys get it. But I read some non-spoiler reviews for the movie before I went and saw it.
Yeah, and
the one takeaway I had, just because of the nature of the sources that I frequent for that kind of thing, I was like, well, Finn and Poe definitely don't kiss.
Yeah,
no one would be this unhappy with it if they became a couple.
Right. Oh,
Boom.
well.
I heard $1 billion. All scream out.
Yeah.
Not time for that yet.
It's like, no.
So was that
sorry.
I take it that was like a thing? Have there been think pieces on that, or what's
I mean,
the story with this?
So just they were just two characters that like it was kind of like that it was kind of hinted that it was moving a little bit in that direction in episode 7 or whatever, and then like the actors in interviews they said that would actually be like a real cool direction for these characters to go, and they're both enjoyable characters. They're fun. They're kind of like comic relief kind of people, but they've got a little bit of depth to them, especially in this episode. And people wrote about it, and the fandom kind of ran away with it because representation is so rare, especially in something that big. And it was just a thing that was kind of in the air and left ambiguous. And then this episode just basically said, nope, they both like it a lady.
There was so much groundwork laid that it was weird to not.
Yeah.
Did it?
So,
did it come across as, I guess, aggressive in that? Like, did it come across? No,
that was the censoring of God, what's her name? Kelly Marie Tran, is that right?
Oh yeah, no, but yep, I know you're talking about. Yes, no, that was aggressive the way that they backgrounded her. But fuck, we're talking about Star Wars. I didn't want that to happen.
There's a Star Wars channel in the Slack now. This is great.
I know.
This is kosher now.
I don't often praise the show Stranger Things, but there's one good thing they did where in the 3rd season they had a similar conversation where they talked about their characters. And they're like, we're pretty sure these characters should be gay. And so they had them come out and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll do an audible on the script and we'll like go with that then instead.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Yeah.
I don't know. Representation's tough. But yeah, I thought it was funny more than anything because I didn't really have a lot invested in that ship or whatever. But like the forcefulness that Disney came through with was really
weird.
entertaining to me.
It's weird to censor things like that to try and appease like a world market. I think that's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's the major takeaway that I got from it as well. But
it's also weird to proactively censor something that just could have not been in the script, Yeah,
I don't know. Censor is probably like a weird word because like it's not a government coming out and doing it, but like Disney very
still
much
censorship. Besides, this is America. Corporations are the government.
Yeah, that's true. Man, just in the name of profit. Hey guys. So this is not a Star Wars show. Maybe when I play Fallen Order.
Yet.
Yeah. Maybe when I play Fallen Order it will be, but not right now. We've got the usual kind of show for you. We've got the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with The Grind, where we talk about the things we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Ben, you went the last time, so now you go first.
Oh my gosh. Is this the first time I've gone first?
No, you've gone first before.
All right. Well, fine. I got some decent ones.
Okay.
I'll start from least interesting to most interesting, I guess, in terms of what I've talked about before.
Okay.
I continued playing Deep Rock Galactic this past week. I played with David this week, so that was actually a lot of fun. And I played with a few other friends as well. The game continues to be a good multiplayer game, like fun to coordinate with people, and it's kind of taken the places of like a new Left 4 Dead type game.
Yeah.
It's not
God, I'll go buy it.
It's not as like intense as like a Rocket League type thing where you need to be like really actively twitchy focusing type thing. It's more like casual, like I can eat a meal while I'm playing and it's not a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
You can play one-handed if you need to. It's more about just like kind of hanging out with friends.
Or you can play it doing other things.
I don't know what that means.
Just making sure you're one-handed.
I'm playing it right now as I'm doing the podcast, in case that weren't clear as well. So yeah,
I was trying to go masturbation joke, but that's
that's a weird way. That's a weird way to spend time with your friends. Let me go with a small line in the sand and go on that side. Anyway, so not
Didn't
really much
realize it was that type of stream.
I was gonna say, oh yeah, I did briefly stream playing it too for like a half an hour too, because one of my friends wanted to watch it, and I guess there's not an easy way to do that through Steam. Anyway, whatever. Next game I want to talk about, Disco Elysium. I finished the second day of that one.
Cool.
In-game story. It's still interesting. I'm actually getting to the point where sorry, what?
What do you mean by second day?
So one of the things that happens is in game there's a clock, and so you start out maybe at like 6 or 8 in the morning of the first day when you wake up. And in game time, like as you go and do missions and stuff, like basically as you talk to people, like the time marker will tick up. Like every dialogue option kind of has like a time cost to it. And I assume as you like walk around and stuff, it slowly increments as well. And things like will happen in the world. So, you know, like when it's evening time, people will go to the local bar type thing. And when it's nighttime, you and your partner will part ways and then you'll go to bed, that sort of thing. Or you can do missions on your own, since that's time when you kind of have it yourself. So within the game, I've gone through 2 game days and I'm on the 3rd game day, if that makes sense. I'm stating it in that sense because I think the game takes place over the course of like 4 or 5 days, I think. So I think I'm like halfway through it, I think. Man, there's some good stuff. I thought about sending you guys a screenshot. It's kind of it's a one-off thing that's just like way out of left field, but it's quite entertaining. I don't know how to say it without spoiling it, so I'm not going to say anything about it. But
like, I mean, so my understanding is that like this is a more effective anti-capitalist game than Outer Worlds is, in terms of like the actual like story of the game has to do with like labor relations and things like that. Is that correct?
The story does have to do with labor relations. However, I would say that it's not as effective as being anti-capitalist than Outer Worlds. I thought Outer Worlds was very good at that. Like that was the strong point of the game, was the writing taking capitalism to extreme to show like what the bad things about our current system are. I don't think this does that as much. That's something that's in the background. Like there's a labor dispute is kind of like one of the central focuses of like people that you're interviewing and stuff. You're interviewing both sides of it or whatever. But I don't think that's, at least I have not picked up on that being like them trying to state things or make commentary.
I'm basing this on hearing other people talk about it, but also the people that I hear talk about it are also socialist to some degree or another. So it's like,
and it could be that stuff is like more packaged in the back half, and maybe
or it could be. I mean, there's so much choice that maybe they are they are going that direction because they're role playing as themselves to a certain degree.
So I think one thing I want to do with this is, so I think I mentioned before, there's a couple different systems of upgrading in it. You have like all these different categories of your brain that you can upgrade, like the logic part, the encyclopedic part, the empathetic part. Things like that, or like the, I don't know, endurance part or whatever. So as you get experience, you get upgrade points, and you can either invest in that, or you can unlock things that are called like a memory jar, and it's basically like different thoughts that you can kind of think about, and then they'll do something to your perk system. It might upgrade caps, or like it does something random. You know, like if you think about, like for example, a relationship that you've had in the past, it might increase empathy for caps or something like that. Or there's like one thought you can harp on where it's like trying to, this might be what people are talking about, but trying to have like a communist revolution or something like this. Doesn't really, it's like I don't know how much it affects the game or whatever. But I think if I go through and play the game again, what I want to do is, I'm playing it straight right now, so I'm trying to be like a good cop who's trying to keep stuff together or whatever. If I play it again, I'm going to do a crazy run through where I'm just going to talk to people about disco the entire time and like just batshit crazy the entire time. But the other thing I will do is I probably won't invest in the memory jar stuff, because that stuff either A, isn't as interesting in what it does, or B, it'll affect you negatively. Like you have to invest time to unlock these too, so you have to think about them for like 5 or 6 hours in-game time. So I haven't really been too like wowed by the payoffs for them. So I think as I play it a second time through, I will actually like pick specific ones that I would want to unlock, or kind of cherry pick which ones I care about. But it's cool to explore it, I guess, at this point, the first run through. So I don't have too much to say to it, other than it's like parts are really enjoyable. I still wouldn't like rate this as like an A+ game or anything like that. It's it's like an enjoyable experience, but I don't know, it could be like, again, like the style, I think it's the best possible version of an isometric type game, because I think usually that kind of breaks immersion for me and I'm not as into it, but I think this is like as into that type of game as I can be, so to speak fondly of the game. So I think if people are already into isometric games, then they'd be all over this. But yeah. All right. Any questions about that? If not, I got one more game to talk about.
No, it still sounds like a must play.
Yeah. And then the last game that I have to talk about that I've enjoyed, this has transcended the fine realm, I think, is I've been playing The Outer Wilds for the past week.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Have you heard about this game, people?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So the premise is you're some sort of creature in some sort of galaxy, and you're stuck in some sort of time loop. So it's like Groundhog's Day, but in space.
Yes.
And so the premise is you have like a vessel that you can travel on, a ship, and the main game mechanics of the game is piloting a ship, so kind of like a flight simulator, and then reading messages from other people, so like maybe a visual novel-ish type thing. And that's kind of the game. Is the main mechanic is just exploring all these different areas. So I mentioned that you're on a time loop. The idea is similar to Majora's Mask, where in 22 minutes from the start of the game ends with the star going supernova and exploding.
Yeah.
And so in that 22 minutes of time, which you play over and over and over again, you can choose to explore whatever you want to do. You can choose to just do nothing, I guess, and wait for the end of the world. But you can choose to explore the different planets in the solar system. And I want to say there's maybe like 5 or 6, maybe. It varies, and not all of them are planets exactly. And so as you explore things, you do have one thing that's persistent, which is a ship log. And so as you discover certain areas and kind of like how they connect, kind of a visual like graph of that will populate on the ship log. But other than that, it's very hands off with the gameplay. It allows you just do whatever you want to do, and whatever you find, and it kind of helps you out with kind of figuring out how things are related. But the key point of the strong point about this, similar to like maybe Breath of the Wild, is there's a lot of like really cool places to explore. The main difference between the two is there's not like monsters that you're fighting in between the places. It's just purely travel to this place, walk around, see what's there, and there's probably something really cool going on. To give a few examples that are, I guess, maybe minor spoiler, they're fine enough. For example, you can fall through a black hole in the game, which looks terrifying as it happens, because it's happening with like real-time physics, or well, quote unquote real-time physics. It's happening with game physics. So you like have a jetpack or whatever, similar and like to the movie Gravity. So you can try and accelerate away or try and like orbit around it and corkscrew around it and get out of it or something like that. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You fall straight through it. In their world's physics, or in their universe's physics, is when you go through a black hole, you come out of a white hole somewhere else.
Okay.
And I think that's a theoretical thing, but I don't think any that's ever been found to be true.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, here it's very concrete. There's a giant white thing that emits matter, and you cannot go through it. It repels everything.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, like, what they do over the 22 minutes of time is there's a very kind of solid progression on each of the planets you visit. Usually something's happening to each of the planets, where at the end of the 22 minutes, it's completely different than where it was at the start. And so that makes for really interesting environments, because you're kind of more time gated, where it's like to explore like a certain area, you need to go there as quickly as possible, and you need to see it through to the complete end. Pretty much every environment, something happens within the 22 minutes. There's some sort of transition. So yeah, it's been a very interesting game. The Groundhog Day mechanic is both cool, but also kind of a source of frustration, because it's hard to. You always feel rushed in the gameplay. Like, you always need to go to a position as quickly as possible, because you might miss it. If you're like, say, if you dally for like 2 minutes, you might miss like a key feature of an area. So that puts a little bit of stress on it. You can't like you never feel like you can kind of settle in and like rest at like an area. Like, so that's, I guess, like one maybe slight negative point of it. But but that shouldn't really deter you from playing the game. It's a pretty interesting game.
22 minutes is such a good length of time for that.
It's a good, I guess, it's a good even split, right? It's like long enough that you're actually doing things.
Yeah. It's the length of a if you are watching what was originally a half-hour show, like if you were just like binging through that, like a half-hour show is 22 minutes of content.
Yeah.
I just the fact that they had landed on that number and designed around it, I really appreciate.
Yeah. And you of course can end earlier if you fall into the sun, for example. Then your run is immediately over.
Nobody's nerfed.
Is that something you like accidentally do?
There's like an autopilot where if you go to a planet, you can turn on the autopilot. One time it ran me into the sun. I think they acknowledge it because in game you can tell to a character, be like, "Hey, this is bullshit. The autopilot ran me into the sun." So they're at least aware that that's a thing. One of the other common ones is when you get in the spaceship, you don't have a spacesuit on. It's in your spaceship. And so you have to like go suit up before you jump out of your ship. Otherwise you die of oxygen starvation. So there's plenty of times where I hop out and they're like, "Oh shit, I forgot to put my suit on." Immediately die. Can't get back in your ship. So there's a couple things like that. There's also like, each planet is definitely its own like kind of present as far as like things to explore. So there's definitely some threads that I still need to explore. There's like 2 or 3 places that I need to devote my 22-minute runs to. So it's an interesting game in that there's not many games that are like that where like the main gameplay incentive is like wonder, of like trying to. It's kind of like a similar game design of like The Witness in a sense, where most of the long-term goals are just like exploring more of the area that you're in, and like that being kind of like the central satisfaction of it. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see where the game ends at. I assume that like the idea is you're trying to break whatever caused the 22-minute time loop. But I'll be curious to know like how satisfying the complete story is once you have like everything connected together. So thumbs up so far for it. I find that game more easy to go back to and play than I do like Disco Elysium, for example. Like I need to be in the right mood to play that game, whereas Outer Worlds I'm pretty interested in playing most of the time.
Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds, excuse me.
No, I wasn't correcting you to be a dick. It's just that's a misunderstanding that lots of people have made reasonably.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure it was clear. Yeah.
It is unfortunate that they're that closely related in name and coming out at the same time. But
so this game, does anyone other than your character realize they're in a time loop?
I mean, you can tell people you're in a time loop, and they don't like freak out about it, I guess. So whether I don't know, I'm sure there's other beings or other that realize that it's happening, but I don't know if I've met them yet. Is how I would say it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any question about it, but between Disco Elysium and the Outer Wilds, you're hitting like my must play list. So good on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll be happy to talk to you about them as soon as you start playing them. So. Yeah.
Was that all you had, Ben?
That's all I got.
Yeah. Did anybody else have questions about those?
I'm good.
Okie doke. Let's see here. Dennis, it's time for you now. You alluded to something with your kids happening in the grind, so I'll throw it to you now.
I've been bouncing in my chair for so long. It's actually a pretty good workout.
I know, right?
So I'm actually going to start with the 2 things that are not my kids, and then we'll get around to it. Because, guys, I'm back on my XCOM bullshit, and it's amazing.
Nice.
A long time ago, XCOM 2 had a free DLC pack that had some additional kind of backstory missions, I'll call it, that also served as mini campaigns where, the actual campaign takes probably 20 to 30 hours to get through if you run it fast. Whereas these are just 7 missions long. So you spend a half hour on each mission, and it's pretty accommodating. And then in between it, each mission, instead of having to run the entire base and make all the macro layer choices. It just presents you two options. It's like, do you want to upgrade your armor or your weapons? Or, do you want a psychic warrior or a sniper? And you have to make those choices in between each mission, which is a really nice way to play the game. Like that kind of XCOM 2 light, I really, really like. So I kind of remembered that existed, checked it out, and am promptly hooked on the game again. The one problem is I'm playing these missions on story difficulty, so it's just like normal.
So you're gonna ratchet it up, aren't you?
Well, I am unlearning all the good habits that I've slowly taught myself over time.
Gotcha.
And I still have yet to do my impossible Iron Man run, or successfully do it. And that takes a lot of careful decision making, and you have to really, really be disciplined to make that happen. And I'm just worried that when I go back into that world after playing these missions on the normal difficulty, it is going to ruin me. So I'm kind of building up all the old bad habits that I broke, but it's worth it because the stories are entertaining, and the length of campaign is accommodating to just the stage of life.
Nice.
So little XCOM 2 keeps giving action there.
I imagine this is what inspired the multiplayer question.
In part, yeah. I don't know if XCOM 2 is my answer. It certainly was at one point, but yeah, that partially did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's XCOM 2. Cool. And then I feel obligated. I kind of threw a shout out to it at the end of my time last episode. Never really followed through on that. I am still playing a game called Spelldrifter on mobile. Do you guys remember me mentioning that?
I remember Word Laces or whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I really did not give this any airtime, and I just wanted to do so now because it's a really cool idea for a game, and it works really well. The game is called Spelldrifter. It is a turn-based strategy game, so it's got that XCOM feel to it a little bit, but it is also a deck-building game. You get 3 characters. Each character has their own deck of 20 cards that you kind of choose from a larger pool. And each card is an ability. So you, on your character's turn, can move and then use an ability. And each ability has a price, like the mana cost, if you want to compare it to other card games, that sets how long you have to wait before that character acts again. So a really powerful attack card is going to make you kind of out of the action for longer than something smaller and simpler. And part of the power level of every card is kind of what it does and then how much it costs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all playing out on a kind of grid-based combat setup. And I've been really pleased with it. In addition to your deck of cards, you also can use equipment. And as your hero levels up, they can have more equipment cards that have some kind of effect on your deck. So, every ranged spell costs 1 less you could equip, or when you equip a weapon, gain 5 of a certain type of ability points or whatever, or you have move +1. So you can kind of do all these different character builds based off of not just the cards that you have, but then the equipment that you put around that, which is kind of cool. It's my kind of game, like that combines 2 genres that I very much love.
I mean, it seems like specifically designed for you.
Yeah, that's how it's felt, and it's been a relatively balanced experience as well. Like the missions are difficult. I fail not infrequently, I guess I'll say. Not enough to be frustrating, but I'm not just kind of mindlessly blowing through it. So you really do have to think about how you're building your decks, and then kind of based on what abilities you draw. That's the other thing is you only draw an ability every 3rd, like quote unquote tick of the turn counter. So you can't just fill your deck with like cheap cards and get a bunch of moves one after another, because you'll empty your hand. So yeah, there's just a lot of interesting ways that those 2 kind of genres play off of each other, and I've enjoyed it a lot. Highly recommend. It's called Spelldrifter, and yes, the lead character is a clone of Gerald.
Yes, and I was going to remark. You have talked about this before, because I'm positive I made a remark that he looks like Gerald. Yeah.
I don't remember the game. I remember the snark.
I just remember seeing this icon before, and I don't know. I trust myself to make the same easy joke twice. So
gotta have standards.
Right. Got that stuff out of the way. I've teased you guys long enough. I mentioned in the Slack, I bought a Switch. So,
oh, dang, nice.
Yeah.
Yay.
Picked up a Switch, picked up a bunch of games for it, just bought it off of someone on Craigslist because I've had good experiences with that before. Mm-hmm. That's not sarcastic, by the way.
No, I believe you.
And Luke has just had friends at school talking about Pokemon and expressed interest in it. And I had been thinking about getting a Switch anyway because I have a ton of business travel coming up. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. So one of the games that I picked up alongside it was Pokemon Sword.
Okay.
And I turned that on, sat down on the couch with the kids, and I put the controller in Luke's hands.
All right.
And I have committed. It might kill me, but I have committed. We are playing this game with Luke making all the decisions. I am purely there to read the text.
Okay.
And he has done fantastic with it.
That's great.
Gigantic asterisk for a 5-year-old.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't expect. So has he gone pro yet?
Yeah. It'd be alarming if he was doing great for an adult. Watch me crush these people, Daddy.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask, David?
To be fair, have you explained like the type alignments?
Oh hell, I need to understand that before I explain it to my 5-year-old. So yeah, it's we're not quite there yet, but it is a game that is balanced in such a way that you can get through it making very suboptimal decisions. You can be a 5-year-old playing it and just kind of messing around and doing whatever sounds cool. And the game accommodates it, at least so far. Mm-hmm. It is not kind of run him on the rocks. But the level of exuberance, first off, you set your name when you start the game. And so, of course, I made it Luke. And the number of times, I never realized how often it refers to you or uses the name. And he just gets the biggest thrill out of that every single time it happens. So that's funny to watch. Everything from he doesn't have any of the background. He doesn't know. So we're playing this game. He's like, well, don't I get Pokemon? Why don't I get Pokemon? And then you realize, oh yeah, there's a little story that leads up to you getting your starter Pokemon. And then the big now you get your starters and you got to make a choice. And his level of excitement about that was through the roof. And he's a fire type, by the way. He went with Scorbunny, which I approve of.
Chose correctly.
Yeah. The funniest thing though was at the end of his first battle, the screen comes up and I'm just reading and I say, okay, your Pokemon gained experience. What? Yeah. Oh look, your Scorbunny leveled up. It leveled up. Oh! Like he's so excited. Oh. And then the final text box, you get $400 for winning. Why did I get money? And he just couldn't believe it. So,
to be fair, that never made much sense unless this is actually you mugging people.
Well, that's the funny thing is, and you fight the early on. Some of the trainers that you fight are like this little kitty guy, youngster Benjamin, I think his name is, and you shake him down for like $500. So,
does he feel bad? Does he offer to give it back?
No,
okay,
no,
cool.
He's excited to be winning money.
You raised a monster.
I don't think I like this game anymore. Yeah.
Well, no. So what I don't like, yes, this is delightful and experiencing wonder through the eyes of an innocent, is so one of the purest sources of joy that is on offer to you. I don't like how Luke is specifically making me feel bad for taking everything for granted and being a jaded, just fucking cinder-hearted asshole. So can you just ask him to tone it down a little bit so I don't feel like I'm dead inside?
I only feel
that's
happiness.
just called being an adult.
Yeah.
There's two sides to every coin, and I'm going to have to bring it down now because along with the joy of watching your son kind of have a game that's on his level that he can really engage with and being excited about that, I also had him realize what potions were.
Okay.
And he had, they kind of give you 5 to start. And he had 4 Pokemon at the time that were missing about 3 HP apiece.
Ooh.
On realizing what potions do, I got to watch him go and use a potion on every single.
Cure the 3 HP.
Like, I think I ground my teeth so hard that I need some dental.
Yeah, no. So you're not steering him at all on that. You're not saying like, hey, that's not optimal play.
I am trying not to, and,
Okay.
and Ben, I actually was thinking about you as this was going on.
You're doing the right
didn't-
thing, Dennis.
So
you
here's
didn't
my
explain
policy.
explain to him. Now, Luke, we live in a society that values capitalism more than people getting their medication.
Well, literally, like he was just outside the Poke Center too, which made it that much worse because that's free healing for everyone in there. And he had finished a battle and was like, "Can I heal my Pokemon?" I was like, "Yep, potions will do that." Helped him find that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "There is also a Poke Center back there." He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna heal him here." Okay,
I mean, that just seems.
I'm just thinking of Twitch plays Pokemon. I'm waiting for him to go to the Poke Center and then start throwing away his Pokemon in front of you.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh man.
Yeah, so decisions like that are interesting. My policy is like to the extent that I understand the systems in the game, because technically this will be my first time. It won't be my first time playing a Pokemon game, but it'll be my first time making any meaningful progress in one. So to the extent that I understand the systems going on or what things are, I will give him the context for like, this is X, this is what it does. So I'm doing a little bit more than just reading the text. But when
Right.
it comes to the decision making, I'm trying to leave that entirely up to him.
And are you
I've
trying to like leave it to him to ask the right questions?
I probably offer up a little bit more than that.
Gotcha.
Just especially as the game is tutorializing, I'll kind of, read something off to him and be like, oh, that probably means XYZ, but it won't put it in the form of like, you should go do that now or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does all right making his own conclusions from that. The experience has been really, really interesting. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome that you're doing that with him.
Yeah, I wish. Well, I don't know. Does the Switch have any kind of streaming capability?
No.
I mean, you can point a webcam at yourself. And
you would have to use like a capture card that would take like an HDMI in.
Yeah.
But you can no longer monetize on YouTube because YouTube just announced that they will no longer place ads on child streams.
Yeah.
So streams that children do or streams that are aimed at children? Because I got that email.
I think it's streams that children do.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
That's probably for the better. And
I'm
you wouldn't be
under no
monetizing it anyway. So,
Yeah. Under no delusions of making a living that way or even making money that way. But it could be fun to capture. What was there was one other thing I was gonna. Oh, his first battle. This was the one that I did coach him a little bit, because there's like the opening battle where you've got your starter and your rival picks his starter and then you're gonna battle each other, and he gets a couple turns in to where clearly he has the upper hand. He's going to win, but his health bar is at about half. And he looks over and he's like, "Can I run? I think I want to not do this. Can I run?" And I was like, there's literally an option on the screen that says run. And I was like, yeah, it says run right there. But I think you got him. I think you got him there if you just tackle one more time. And so got him to stick with that. But
he was doing a pacifist run through. He's like, I just don't want to hurt anyone. Do it, Luke.
Yeah, it is so fascinating to, and I'm sure people have had this revelation way earlier than I have, but to put a 5-year-old in this world where he truly is the decision maker and has the degree of freedom that he has, but then also has to deal with the consequences of his actions, to like expose him to just that kind of situation at such an early age and in such a safe and overall environment is really, really cool and exciting to me.
That's got to be a good confidence builder.
Yeah, or I mean, you know, he uses up all his potions, and then he couldn't heal when he wanted to the next time, and had the connection of why that was, and like that's what an amazing lesson that just naturally is going to come up, and you're not going to find any safer environment to learn that than in a cutesy Pokemon game. Like, that's kind of cool.
You've got to ease them into that. You know, first put them in an environment where, you know, they're in control and responsible for their actions, and then they'll be really ready for the real world where they're not in control and they're responsible for their actions.
Yeah, I think that comes in the next area.
Yeah.
So I've been. Oh, go ahead.
So you kind of maybe answer my question, but like, has he suffered a big loss, and how did he react to that?
Yeah, he had there's like, you know, the opening battle, and then you go do some stuff, and then you have a second battle versus your rival, and he had one of his Pokemon faint during that, and it like, you know, it clearly had an impact on him. He wasn't like devastated or anything, but he's like, oh no, shoot, I like, you know, I don't know if he really registered that was a possibility. You know, I think he was worried at the first time when he asked to run, and then saw, oh, I can actually win these, and then was a bit kind of invincible until he saw his Pokemon faint in the second battle,
right?
Second trainer battle, and I won't assign any weight to it that it didn't have. You know, it was interesting to watch that light bulb go off in his head, but again, like a safe environment to be like, oh, that, you know, I Pokemon was low health, and I kept on using him again instead of switching to something else, and that caused him to faint, and he didn't get experience that time then, and like just great little realizations happening left and right. It's also just from a reading perspective, like any option that's yes or no, like he's got. Usually if there's like, I'll read him the options, and then just based on like the number of words or the starting letter, he can just puzzle out which is the right one.
Nice.
You know, he wants to check his Pokemon. I'll say, okay, open your menu and go to bag. Starts with a B, you know, and which one do you want? Okay, well, that starts with a C. See if you can find it. And because it's all got visual aids to go along with it, it's like the perfect environment to do that as well. So I'm just having my dad time of my life doing this. It's pretty sweet.
So Dennis, are you worried at all that him playing video games is going to make him want to shoot up his school, or?
Well, I got a call from his teacher. Apparently, he was I shouldn't make those jokes. Yeah. No, it's that is ridiculous. But yeah, not too concerned about that. I am concerned that playing this game will make him constantly be asking to play Pokemon.
Yeah,
right. We're very much in this stage of now. So
I'd be more worried about him starting up a cockfighting ring.
Yeah. Oh goodness. It's all good. You gotta walk that line of like, it is an impulse as a parent of like a willful kid that anything they show signs of genuinely liking instantly becomes a tool to like goad them into doing the right thing. You know, so it's like instantly, oh, well, you can't play Pokemon if you don't finish your dinner. Or you can't play Pokemon if you don't finish your room, or you keep that up, you're going to lose Pokemon tonight.
It's called leverage.
Yeah, exactly. But I also don't want to create this thing where like wanting and enjoying things is taboo, right? Like that was my childhood of like literally anything that was fun was like that. So that's an interesting thought process.
As a childless bachelor who can't be near somebody for 2 hours, let me tell you exactly how that works.
Oh, get in line. But yeah, it's been so much fun. And that is me this week.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's delightful.
Yeah, that sounds delightful. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any questions about it.
So, Ben, I think Luke could break you. I want to get you two in a room.
Okay. All right.
Why sword instead of shield?
Because that's the one the guy on Craigslist had.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Also, swords are cooler than shields. Duh.
So they still have like the 3 types of starting Pokemon, like fire, leaf, and water, or is it different?
It's Scorbunny, Sobble, and Grookey.
Okay. So how do you know which one favors the red one of the sword and shield?
Which one favors the what?
The red one, the fire one.
Oh, you're out of my league now.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think your starter choice matters. I think that, I mean, if it works like the old ones, like which version you get does impact like which legendary you have available. So like if the legendary is on the screen, you know, or the legendary on the cover is the one that you get, but that could have changed in the last 20 years since I played a Pokemon game. So.
All right, so I'm going to leave it on this one, right? And I will try to whip out my phone and get this on tape when it happens.
Okay.
Luke has not had a Pokemon evolve on him yet.
Oh, shit.
And I predict he will lose his shit. So.
Oh, do you think he'll be happy or sad?
Oh, shit. I don't know. No, he's definitely bad.
to be fair, even I
he's immediately going to turn to me and go, "I want my old one back." That's exactly what's going to happen.
Tell him to press B.
Yeah, change is bad, Daddy. No.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Man, oh man. Let's see. So, was that all you had, Dennis?
Yeah, that is me.
Cool. I've got two brief ones. Gonna pick up with here quick. So I started streaming a new game last weekend. For Hex Crank. It's an older game. It is a game made by FromSoft. You know, the Dark Souls people. It's from 1998. It's called Echo Knight. Previously, I had streamed the sequel to this, Echo Knight Beyond. But this is a game that I haven't really played an awful lot of. And it's really, really neat. So, Ben, it sounded like you were going to say something.
It sounds, it feels like the 1998 part is the more contributing factor than the From Software part.
It's really similar to, it's made using the same engine as Kingsfield. So, like, if you have played a Kingsfield game or a Shadow Tower game, like, they control and look pretty similar. But the idea is you're investigating the disappearance of your dad, and you go to his burned out house, and you are sucked into a painting of a ship, and you are basically taken into the past, and you are on a ship that is full of ghosts, and you are trying to resolve the unfinished business of the good ghosts, and trying to find the right objects to dispel, there's a word for that, to exorcise the harmful ghosts. You know, the ones that will do that will do damage to you.
Gotta exercise that exorcism experience.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Is this just a metaphor for your dad having a second family or something?
I don't know. Your dad was into some real like demonology kind of stuff. He was like collecting artifacts and things, but also he was fighting a guy who was into worse demonology and collecting eviler artifacts. So you're also trying to solve that. I haven't beaten this game before.
Everything's relative.
But what's neat about this is you're not just like pinned to the ship, right? Like ships are not necessarily the most engaging environment in video games. But like you'll go into a room and, you know, maybe like a particular object, if you inspect it, will like suck you back into that ghost's past. Okay, so like there's you find a sailor, like one of the first of these that you do, you find a sailor and he's expressing his regret that he left somebody that he loved, and oh God, I'm dead and I'm never going to get to see them again. And you get pulled back into their past, and you're at like a carnival with him and the girl that was that he loved, and in order to dispel him, you have to go and ride the carousel at the carnival in order to spot the wedding ring that she was going to propose to him with. And then you pick that up and you take it back to her, and then he finds out, oh, she was going to propose to me. And then that exercises him. But like you're going into like these like little short stories within this game in a way that feels way more ambitious from a storytelling perspective than I would associate with, you know, a 3D game of that era.
That feels like rubbing salt on a wound in that specific story.
I may have.
Are they all that depressing?
So some of them are. I may have like I've forgotten the detail that makes that uplifting when I told it. But anyway, most of the time
it's just one detail. We'll fix that one.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he just ends it with, well, at least I know that she was equally, lonely and heartbroken by my death.
Yeah, she was into me too. Yay. Yeah, I think there's something to that makes it not a straight up tragedy. But I chose poorly when I was thinking of examples. But it's cool because you're going and solving little mysteries for people and things like that. And I don't know, it's like neat to get to different environments. I mean, it's also worth saying that like going back and playing a game of this vintage does have like a certain amount of charm to it too, if you have affection for this fidelity of of graphics. So like, it's a first person exploration game done in full 3D on the PlayStation. So like the textures are all really, really low res, and you're seeing these, low res ghosts moving around, or low poly ghosts.
You should talk about the controls, because I feel like that's very telling of the time that it was made.
Yeah, so it's a first-person game that was developed before it could be assumed that you had two analog sticks.
Oh no!
Okay.
So it was before we had the one stick moves and the other stick looks around kind of paradigm. So you are your D-pad moves you forward and back, and then it turns you left and right. And then your shoulder buttons, you have the 4 shoulder buttons, 2 of them strafe you left and right. And the real tricky part is to look up and down. You also have to press the other shoulder buttons to look up and down. You eventually get used to it. I know it doesn't sound like that's the case. You do eventually get used to it.
They say the same thing about catheterizing yourself. It doesn't make it fun.
I mean, like, it took me a half an hour, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like Kingsfield or Shadow Tower. I've played these games before. It's not ideal, but also it's not asking that much of me to like look up and down. So that's about how it came out. So yeah, but it's definitely of its era, but it feels a little bit, prescient, feels ahead of its time. Like, it's really weird to be in a game made in 1998 that looks like that, where you're doing like modern walking sim type stuff. Like, you go into somebody's cabin on the ship and you're like rooting around in their drawers, and they're like dresser drawers, and they're nightstand drawers, not their pants. Yeah. But it's cool. I'm really curious. So Echo Knight 2 never came to America. I'm excited to use my modded PlayStation 2 to play that. And then Echo Knight Beyond did come to America, but I have already played and streamed that, and that is good. That's the one that takes place on the moon space station.
Ah,
yeah.
Of course.
Any questions about Echo Knight?
that sounds cool.
Cool. The other thing I've been playing, it's a little indie game that people might enjoy. It is called Wilmot's Warehouse. WILMOT, Wilmot's Warehouse.
Yeah, that sounds super familiar.
If you look at it, you
explain to me where I've heard about it from before.
I mean, maybe it's shown up on a couple of like best of 2019 lists. It's a little indie game. You play as Wilmot. He is a square with a face, and he runs a warehouse where goods are delivered, and all of these goods are little squares, the same size and shape as you, but with different symbols on them. And you have to take all of these shipments and organize them in such a way that when the customers show up asking for X number of this one and Y number of this one and Z number of this one, you can quickly go and grab what they need and bring them back to the customer within the time period, or within the time limit that they put you to.
So the customer is also squares?
I honestly can't remember. I think that they're little people. They show up at a window at the front, but like the way that it gets more complicated is you are trying to, no, they are not little squares. I had forgotten. The way it gets more complicated is it adds, with each shipment, like a new kind of a new kind of thing, right? So you may have gotten just a bunch of, you may have just been expected to organize blocks that had card suits on them, but then boom, all of a sudden here's some blocks with umbrellas on them. Well, what do you have to do with those? And the space, it's bigger than you can see. And also, like, it is doing some stuff with line of sight where if Wilmot could not reasonably see, what was there, it's blacked out. So, like, and the space is bigger than, one particular screen. So you end up having, like, a little heuristic. Like, okay, everything that is a food is over here. Everything that is a shape is over here. Everything that is an abstract shape is over here. And that can quickly get untenable depending on how rigid you want to be with that and how many new additional things are added onto it. So,
well, and looking at this, like there are a goodly amount of times where the things are relatively close to each other. Like,
yeah, relatively similar.
It's the blue square with the green center and the blue square with the red center.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see speedruns of this game where they make warehouses that are like Amazon ones where everything's just shuffled around, know? And that's like the optimal way to get things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, like, it's funny, like you notice that, like, yes, it is, a strategy is to separate everything and have it be as rigid as possible. Like, another thing might be, like, something relatively chaotic where you have kind of an intuitive understanding of what needs to be accessed the most. Or like maybe having everything spread out means you have to move so much more than if you had things bunched up, more.
Well, it looks like there's an element too, and you tell me if this is the case, where, as you're picking up items, they take up space around you and you can become a pretty unwieldy shape.
Yes.
And to where you can't maybe get through a corridor that you went through to get the shapes and you have to go around another way, or you have to make sure you're picking them up in a way that keeps you skinny enough to get back through a corridor.
Yeah, or do the rotations that you need to do. Yeah. Or make multiple trips, pick up a couple of things and then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But like, it's just a really, kind of intoxicating little rhythm to the game, where it is, there are periods where it just says, hey, you have all the time that you need in order to get things rearranged. And it gets super, I don't know, I like organizing things. So it gets super satisfying to go and make sure that everything is in its right place. But then it gets stressful when new shipments are arriving and customers are showing up and you have to basically remember, like keep where everything is at in your working memory. It's a super satisfying little game and a good fit on the Switch. That's where I'm playing this.
Yeah. So does it have that element to it where you have like a really amazing run, get super far, and then the idea of like starting anew is just kind of exhausting and you stop playing for the night?
A little bit. It's more persistent than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
this is
you can
ongoing.
Get behind on like a particular run, but that just means you don't get like the stuff that you need to do like upgrades and things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
Very cool.
Wilmot's Warehouse. I recommend it before sleep. David, what you been playing?
I haven't been playing a ton, although I did pick up on the Steam sale the Wolfenstein New Order. Something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the right one. I very quickly learned that the Wolfenstein sequel naming / numbering convention just makes no flipping sense anymore.
And what was?
It's following Xbox rules.
Yeah, because we had Wolfenstein, then Wolfenstein 3D, then Wolfenstein again, then New Order, then Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just the whole thing's confusing.
Okay, but which one did you get? Did you get the one where the main character goes into the coma and wakes up in?
Yes, that one.
Okay, you didn't get the one where you wake up and get a robot suit and all that.
No, not that one. So yeah, so you go into a coma and then wake up and in a very Metal Gear Solid 5-esque fashion, just start flipping out and choking people.
Yeah.
So
but of course,
as you do. Overall, it's actually a very good game.
I like it quite a bit. We did it for WoF last year.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was kind of your guys' overall take on it?
The story's amazing. The world building is fantastic. Boss fights are a real bummer, but individual kind of levels and encounters are all very well done. Kind of balancing a stealth approach versus all out, I'm going to shoot everybody. And they're just going to have to be okay with that. That's about where it came down. It's absolutely like, it's way better than one would expect it to be if they knew, kind of how out in the wilderness Wolfenstein had been for a while. Yeah.
Right. And it did sort of come out of nowhere.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think, kind of what you mentioned, probably my favorite overall feature of it, at least from a gameplay standpoint, is the degree to which it does very much change up gameplay styles. Mm-hmm. Definitely there are sections that are very much based around stealth, but other than I think right when you come out of the coma and are literally only armed with a knife, mm-hmm. pretty much all of them you can just choose to shoot things.
Yeah, and like you can choose, it can be a little bit like Batman, where it's less, or a little bit like Far Cry, where it's less about stealthing everybody, and killing them all before you go, but it's more like there are high priority targets, either enemies that have particularly strong weapons, or like there are actual like commander enemies that, as long as they are in the field, they will keep summoning more people. So like getting in and taking them out first, it puts you in a good position to take everybody else out.
Yeah, exactly. And there's actually even some fairly decent, exploration and kind of mini puzzle elements, which mm-hmm. is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
So the story itself, again, like you said, pretty good. I'm interested to see right now. It seems like Wolfenstein, and I guess kind of the whole Nazi thing in general, tends to either go with sort of a weird science approach or an occult approach. And it seems like this one's very much going more for the weird science. I'm interested to see if they ever draw in any of the occult elements of it.
So the expansion for the New Order, called the Old Blood, does lean into the Nazi occult stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. You get a little bit of the occult stuff when you meet a particular NPC that you have to free from captivity, but it is more like, oh, our old magic is actually sufficiently advanced technology. The actual like cult demon kind of stuff is the Old Blood, which has you actually storming Castle Wolfenstein.
Okay, that's cool. So so far though, I'm really enjoying. It's got a fairly unique, kind of interesting blend of, sort of being a little bit diesel punk in the technologies, but mm-hmm. not. I don't know. It has its, I guess, almost if you mashed up diesel punk and Gears of War.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So
this is a future that definitely has dirt.
Oh yeah. There dirt, but not just dirt, but a lot of concrete.
Oh yeah, like the concrete is actually a story point.
Yeah.
How far are you in the game, David?
So I'm on the first mission once you officially join the resistance and have their little the kind of intermission in their hideout.
Oh, in their HQ. I love that HQ.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's something you come back to periodically.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Nice.
Yeah. When you mentioned Wolfenstein, I heard Ben kind of make that kind of noise. I didn't want to immediately like jump in and say, "Oh, this thing's great," and shut you out from offering your thoughts on it, Ben.
No, I played. I think
Tell us
one
why
of
you're
the-
wrong.
I played one of the Wolfenstein games. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was. It might have been the Colossus one, but you start out on a plane and you're like changing out things on the plane, like your attack. It's like a dogfight or something, but you're doing like random missions around the plane.
One.
Yeah, that's this. In the prologue, you are making an assault on Wolfenstein or on the castle Wolfenstein. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played the first few minutes of this game. I kind of bounced off of it. So if you say it's really good, then I'll be more incentivized to go back and play it. But
it gets better than that.
Yeah, I'd say I feel like the very first start of it, very much whether the degree to which you enjoy it depends on how much you like kind of the, diesel punk / resistance fall of man type of aesthetic, because to a significant degree you're just playing with kind of cool hardware that has very little to do with the story.
Yeah, but you're also using that cool hardware to kill a bunch of Nazis.
Yes, which is definitely a plus. And the game very much likes killing Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safe bet. It's just like the movie industry.
Yeah. It's generally a solid thing to go with. So I'm curious, Cole, which timeline did you go with?
Oh God, I saved the young upstart is who I saved. Wyatt? No, wait, no, I didn't save Wyatt. I saved the old guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I did likewise.
Okay.
And apparently I didn't realize that actually influences even was it new classes? They'll like ask you at the beginning which one you saved.
Yes.
But yeah, that was a fairly legitimately tough choice. I mean, that was better, more choice than most games go with.
It's really weird that it impacts so much. You even get like there is a different NPC that you get at the base. I don't want to ruin who I got. Man, let me see here. I am losing my mind trying to remember which one I took. Fuck. No, it doesn't matter. I think that I saved Wyatt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saved Fergus, who is like the pilot of your initial plane you're on and kind of your old friend, that sort of guy.
Yeah.
Mainly just because he seems much more entertaining.
He's like a crotchety old like Scotsman, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Saved him for the lulz.
Yes.
So, I do have to say, like, I don't know. Overall, it'll be interesting to see whether, there's any, I don't know, like, emotional whatever or, anything like that to the plot. I mean, because it seems like it's mostly just about having a really good story about killing Nazis, which
there's pathos to it. Like the story does go like good places that are not just doing what Wolfenstein do.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do have to say the very start of this mission takes a sudden turn towards being much darker than it immediately seems.
Yes.
Which was good, especially since you're like in the previous thing wondering like, why is this guy such an asshole?
He really is. I just went back to my notes from Watch Out for Fireballs and I saved Wyatt. So
nice.
There we go.
Nice. Yeah. Did you play New Colossus or whatever at all?
No. I played like the first few missions of that, but I concluded that we would probably eventually be covering it for WoF. Because we liked the first one so much that I shelved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, really good. I think the only other thought I have is just more games need to do over the top dual wielding.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean?
In this game, I think you can dual wield any weapon. So most notably, you can dual wield automatic shotguns and assault rifles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like GoldenEye. You can have double rocket launchers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Awesome.
In fact, you can.
And there's basically there's no downside from what I can recall.
The only downside is you can't aim, so you can't like bring up
Yeah.
And then also you can't use the like automatic cover. So basically on PC at least, the key binding for manually like leaning out around cover is really, really awkward. So in effect, it means I can't use the cover system.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bummer that you can't use iron sights dual wielding because you have two eyes. You got two guns.
Oh.
You can, strangely enough, individually change what firing mode they're in, which often makes very little sense because you can, for example, choose to silence only one of your guns.
I don't want them to think there's two of me when they hear me coming. Get their hopes up.
Doesn't sound like he's dual wielding, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's only one person with one gun. He's showing restraint. He'll be a pushover.
Yeah.
What else have you been playing?
That's about it. That's been any degree of significance. I've continued on with Warframe, although I haven't gotten to actually play the new mode they just released. That's apparently amazing. They released basically a ship-to-ship combat mode where, except that it's each player, in one ship manning various workstations. So it's basically if you took, FTL and added ninjas.
Okay.
So yeah, it's apparently pretty good, but unfortunately, I do not have the equipment to get a ship yet. So that'll have to be a later update.
Oh yeah. That sounds like a segment to me.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Dennis, what question did you ask the nice people?
Yeah, I wanted to hear about those games that kind of stay with you when you're done playing. Not just in an emotional sense, but in the sense of like you spend every waking moment thinking about, strategizing for, visualizing the game, even when you're not playing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so let's pick up here. Lindsay says, the first game that comes to mind is Dark Souls 1. I can almost run the entire game in my mind. Recently, I have been doing that with The Witcher 3. Wow. With all of the beasties and monsters, strategy is definitely needed. So I play a game of chess in my head to see if certain tactics could be possible. In both games, this works pretty well for me, plus makes me an even bigger nerd in the process.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is something I've done ever since I was a kid, but like think of a space and like mentally walk through it. And I still even do that to this day where like I will in my head walk through my old middle school, and like, oh, like that's where that that's where that classroom was. Like it's a building that doesn't exist anymore, or it's been turned into something else. It was like a cool, decrepit old building, but like I just walk through it in my head, and I absolutely do that with Dark Souls games and other games as well. So I see where Lindsay's coming from.
Oh yeah. It's so weird. I was just doing that the other day. I drove past my old childhood library, which has since moved to a new building, and the old one has been shut down. But like, I remember that space and where every desk and computer and thing was so vividly. Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just rewarding. I don't know. Done it since I was a kid. David, what does Mike say?
Mike says, this kind of thing is why I love stealth games. The feeling of being in the shadows, observing enemies and environments, planning out a course of action on site gives me such a rush that carries over into when I'm not playing. As for some specific examples of games that have really evoked this feeling, And me, I'll go with Hitman 2 and Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
After I play a stealth game, I pretend I'm fucking James Bond, and whenever I walk into a new building, like, I spot all the cameras and make a note of where they're at.
And then just start shooting randomly.
Well, I mean, that's actually just kind of good policy in today's day and age. Know where the exits are, know where the cover is.
I mean, I can't be comfortable in a new place if I don't know where the restrooms are and if I don't know where the nearest exit is. This
where
is
the
true.
restrooms are and where I'd hide a body. Often the same thing.
Oh, I just know a lot of weird details about my mind coming out, and people might think it's a bit, but it's not. Ben, what does Dan say?
Dan says, Fallout is always one that comes to mind. Whenever I see a dry, deserted, rundown area, or in terms of impending doom by any number of nutjob with power who thinks the game Nukem from RoboCop is a genuine political strategy.
I wonder why he would be saying that.
What's on your mind?
Yeah, is there something going on? Yeah. Oh. Let's see here. Dennis, what does Christopher say?
Chris says, I haven't played Hitman 2 yet, but I did play the one before it in the long-distant year of 2019. Oh, man, a decade ago. I never really planned... I know that's inaccurate. Shut up. I never really planned anything...
A decade is technically any 10-year period, so fuck the pedants.
Yeah. I never really planned anything whenever I began a new mission or during any of the initial attempts, but if I had to give up for the evening for work, I would think of various approaches after spending time exploring the environment. Failing, and then blasting and trying to outrun the bullets. Usually I'd come back to the game with better plans than those, or I'd still fail but could improvise from there, which was always a lot of fun, which is the mark of a good stealth game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a weird similarity between the Outer Wilds and a stealth game where it's like a similar kind of mechanic.
Yeah.
Where you're trying the same thing over and over again.
Trying to optimize.
Yeah.
That's the definition of insanity.
Outer Wilds is a pretty crazy concept. Let's see here. Greg writes, adventure games like the old school Sierra and LucasArts games are great for this. When I get stumped on a puzzle in the game that I can't figure out, I'll shut the game off and do something else and just let the problem stew in the back of my head all night or all day, and then come back later and try out what I came up with. More often than not, I can advance. Just not focusing on the problem and letting it simmer for a while can be the right thing in both games and in real life.
Yeah, word.
Yep. Sleep on it. Stop trying to think of that word that's on the tip of your tongue. It'll come to you.
Which people look at me when I go to sleep in my desk, but it works.
Yeah. I think they're just envious that you can fall asleep that quick.
That is... Honestly, going back to Cole, you talk about walking through places. That's one of my biggest frustrations at work is, to a significant degree, when I'm, programming, there's a degree to which, I'm kind of mentally envisioning, the data structures and how things fit together and stuff like that. It's much easier if I close my eyes, that sort of thing. But I'm afraid that I'll look like I'm just like sleeping at work.
You just got to do also like the Tom Cruise from Minority Report, and then no one will bother you.
Yes. Yeah. Or get glasses that just have a picture of your eyes open. So that way people just think, yep, exactly.
Holy shit. This is what you should do. Tell everyone that you're going to work in VR because you're so much more efficient. Put the VR glasses on and then just work with your eyes closed.
I have seriously considered that.
I'm playing a game where you pretend like you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys.
I just worked from home.
yeah, there you go.
Oh,
what was the game? Jala was talking about it, where you gotta you're playing the kid. You gotta close your eyes and look away from the monsters.
Oh yeah,
bears are coming after you. Yeah,
that would probably be a really interesting VR port.
There is a number of games like that.
Yeah,
SCP has that. Slender Man has that.
Mm-hmm. Bedtime Blues was that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let's see here, and David, round us out with Rookie.
Rookie says, The Outer Wilds is a 3D gravity and thrust style game. does this genre have a name? I don't know, but I feel like Gravity and Thrust sounds like something else. That is also a huge... Sorry, that was my editorial, not theirs. That is also a huge puzzle box. It took me about a week to finish it, and I could not get this game out of my head until I was done with it. I love the interconnected puzzles, the central mystery, and the super creative world design. Literally, the worlds in this solar system are so unique and cool, I don't even want to describe them for fear of taking away the sense of wonder, quote-unquote, you all will feel when you see them for the first time. Every time I came home from work that week, I'd have 4 to 5 new ideas to explore just a bit more, get past the obstacle, or kill myself in a new and hilarious way.
It's almost like Rookie knew that we were going to talk about Outer Wilds.
Yeah, I was going to say he summed it up better than I did. It's like Cliff Notes, Rookie Notes.
Rookie Notes. For me, like it's weird that you put in Factorio here, Dennis, because this was Satisfactory for me. That game that I played and talked about a lot. I think I put like 50 hours into it over the course of 2 weeks.
Well, we know it was Satisfactory, but what was the game?
Jesus Christ. Every time. It's not you, David. It's just that is usually the response when I talk about Satisfactory.
To be fair, a significant number of the times it has been me.
But no, that's a game about laying out factories. It's done in 3D space. And I would just, put it down reluctantly and go and in my sleep, try and design a more compact or efficient kind of model. Or I'd just be, while I was working on something else, get an idea and go up to my whiteboard and sketch out an idea for okay, here's how I can resolve this bottleneck in my resource chain and things like that. And I would just
The game tricked you into doing actual work for it.
Yeah. And it was delightful. And I've run into...
To be fair, we were talking about a warehouse simulator earlier.
Yes.
So
yeah.
it's not the only one to do that.
And I've also run into that with stuff like RimWorld or Prison Architect. Just new building design ideas or stuff, or just casually browsing just pictures of other people's layouts and thinking, oh, I can adjust this and that, and just trying to solve problems. So any of these managerial kind of games, they become holes for me. Stardew Valley as well for farm layouts. They become holes for me because I cannot stop myself from playing them and optimizing to a certain degree. Sure. when I am ostensibly supposed to be focused on other things.
Mm-hmm. Good call.
How about you, David?
So, I think for me, the big one is, I don't know quite what you'd exactly call this genre, but games particularly the more modern Deus Ex series or Vampire the Masquerade, that sort of thing.
Yeah, those are called immersive sims or vent crawlers or 0451s.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And so those sorts of things, kind of my approach to them tends to be just, skirt around the edges, kind of poking at things and, making very small progress until eventually kind of the entire thing collapses and, all of a sudden, I've broken through all the defenses. Mm-hmm. And so that's very much something that, I tend to have this sort of approach where I'm constantly thinking of, what's the next element that I can kind of subvert that will lead me to eventual victory.
Nice. That's a good answer. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I don't think this happens too much for me. I think the one that I can think about is Dr. Mario back from the college days.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Played that a whole bunch.
Get a straight up Tetris effect with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, with regular games like Factorio and stuff like that, I think it's only abstract games that kind of sink into my subconscious like that, like chess a little bit to some extent. But
sure. So when you would, dream about Dr. Mario or what have you, I mean, that game, just like Tetris, lives on the randomizer. So like as you were fitting the pieces together, like, did you ever notice like a rhyme or reason to what piece you gave yourself next?
No, it was never like conscious or whatever. It was never like it was never very concrete, like what the shapes or colors were. It was just kind of like on autopilot where you just see them come and stuff kind of fixes itself. And
yeah, because I like if I it's weird because I run into that with Tetris, and I would just give myself the most optimal piece every time.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Oh man, and Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, so you mentioned XCOM as a guest earlier, and I would say that's definitely true, especially the first game where the maps were not randomized. And so like you had the kind of persistent spaces that you could kind of go back to mentally. But for me, it was Guitar Hero.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In college, I would literally sit in class and just put my fingertips on the bottom of the desk and just tap away at whatever song was in my head. And to this day, I'll never forget. It was actually in your dorm room, guys. Mm-hmm. The first Guitar Hero track I ever played was Trogdor.
Oh yeah, I remember calling you over for that. Yeah,
right. To this day, I can tap out Trogdor on medium difficulty without a second thought.
Nice.
Because it was so ingrained. But man, that and good Lord, any of the songs from Guitar Hero 3 just are deeply ingrained, and I would just spend every waking moment that I wasn't actually playing Guitar Hero with the Guitar Hero songs, and specifically Guitar Hero note tracks whizzing through my mind.
Did you ever like while you were driving just kind of involuntarily picture the note track coming at you on the road?
That seems incredibly dangerous.
I mean, you're listening to the radio, one of those songs comes on, it's gonna happen.
Well, so does it, like, would it always have to be one of those songs? Like for me, just any song that I heard, like Rock Band and Guitar Hero, they like gave me a weird visual language for the songs I was hearing. So I'd like picture what the note track for it would be, for whatever part that I was paying attention to. So like, were you doing it with non Rock Band and Guitar Hero songs, or was it just those particular ones where you like had internalized the charts so much?
The ones I remember are internalizing the charts. I would not be surprised at all if it was going on for everything.
Yeah. No, that's just good answers all around, because I recognize myself in all of them.
It is a thing that happens with video games with surprising commonality.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for participating. If you would like to participate in future multiplayers, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. Thank you, Dennis, for posting this question.
Of course.
The end boss. Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about the things that are going on in the world of video games around us, and specifically things that are exciting to us. Ben, what's going on with Valve and Portal?
Yeah, this is just a tiny little one. Somebody posted a video online of what was going to be Portal's prequel called F-Stop. I believe this was briefly in development after Portal, but before Portal 2, where they tried expanding on the story of like Aperture Sciences, but they tried doing it in a very literal sense, where instead of using the portal gun, they tried to do a mechanic change, where it's kind of like Fatal Frame, where you have a camera and you're taking pictures of things, but it's like Happy Frame. I don't know. Like the things you take picture of, it captures it on the camera, and then you can place it somewhere in the environment. And then the one thing that looks interesting is you can change the scale of it. So it seems like a couple different ideas going on. Like you could take a picture of a box and then put it like 4 times the size somewhere else if you wanted to. But you can do it to solve different puzzles. So the example that shows in the video is you take a picture of balloons, you can attach them to things, and then they'll lift up. Or there's kind of like non sequitur puzzles where they take a picture of a ceiling fan that they pass under early in the level and place it on the floor, and then use it as like an air boost to jump up to the next area. So just a really small like demo for it. It does look pretty polished for a demo. Like a decent amount of things had been programmed for it to happen. But yeah, but it was authorized by Valve to be released. It's not. They're not
making it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, but they're okay with somebody going over the demo and like talking about like how it was made and stuff like that. So.
Nice.
Was this shared at an earlier point, or is it resurfacing, or is this the first time it's surfacing?
I think it's the first time it's resurfacing.
There was an indie game specifically, Dennis, many years ago that you brought that played with the scaling things up and down kind of thing. But it was
that
not
was the first perspective game, right? Where like you take a picture of a statue in the distance, and then if you look close to you drop it, and then it's huge.
Right. Yeah.
Vice versa, I mean. But yeah. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, this feels in the same vein.
Yeah.
I'm just annoyed that they're like, hey, this thing's dead, so we can safely reveal what it would have been.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I definitely feel like Portal 2, after being polished and everything, is a much better product than what this is. But
yeah, just, you know.
Who knows?
Standard gripes about Valve being where developers go to not make games.
Well, you know, they've made good stuff. I'm totally okay with them not making games if they only have made good games in their lifetime.
I suppose
they're not going to be like the Rolling Stones. They're not
going to keep shambling
in the 70s or whatever.
Yeah. Dennis, what the hell kind of game is Dreams? Because you posted this. I've seen this elsewhere, and like, it is the kind of thing that I see people post from Dreams. This doesn't look like a game, though.
No,
Dennis,
and in fact,
justify it.
It is not a game. This is like a 3D modeling tool. And the fact that people can push it to be as lifelike as is in this image, which, by the way, good job, Dennis, for choosing an image-based story for a podcast.
People have probably seen this all over. I've seen it in lots of places today. But
you just need to describe it in enough vivid detail that the listener can pull it up in their mind's eye.
So we've been talking about visualization this episode. Yeah. No, it's one of those stories where the image and the headline is enough to take it all in. So I'm sure people have seen this, but you know, Dreams is coming out. It's a creation platform akin to Little Big Planet, except where, you know, Little Big Planet had platformer as kind of its anchor. Dreams is just anything. Like it's literally just a game creation / modeling tool that is as powerful as you want it to be, and based on this image, that's pretty freaking powerful.
Yeah.
So you know, this is a hyper photorealistic image. Why someone chose to do the image of a breakfast platter, I don't know, but they did.
Specifically an English breakfast platter, which is a bunch of good food spoiled by the presence of baked beans.
You
wait, what? Infidel.
Yeah,
fucking gross. Step to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just absolute photorealism, looks amazing. You know, if you didn't tell me this was made or this was a created image, I never would have given it a second thought. And it's all created.
Jumping around it.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's that version of it. And so yeah, it just has me very excited for Dreams because it is this powerful of a tool, and there are people passionate enough to do this kind of a thing with it. I would be fascinated to hear how long it took this person to make this photorealistic image versus working in like a traditional modeling software, which I wouldn't know what that would be, but
takes a lot. Like materials work is very time consuming and painstaking.
Right. And so to do it in an engine that is kind of not designed specifically for this, but for doing pretty much anything, how much of a time cost does that have? Certainly some of the stuff done in Little Big Planet was amazing. I think there's a complete Final Fantasy VII remake in one of the games functioning that you can play. But it's just hyper interesting to see this kind of tool develop.
Yeah, I would love to see a video of the creation process. Like
Oh, yeah.
taking this from nothing up. I mean, like not just because it's impressive and that would be cool, but like I just want to know what anything in this game is.
Yeah.
I want to see how the creation works.
I mean, I messed around with the Dreams demo. I created one level based on, they have like weekly themed contests.
Yeah.
The theme's like picnic or something. And so I made a level where you start in a picnic and all your food starts getting carried away by ants over little cliffs on the edge. And you have to like corral the food for as long as you can before it goes off the edge. And you lose. I spent 3 nights up till probably 4 a.m. creating it. And I'm happy that I did. And that's Dreams. It is interesting. Little Big Planet kind of enforced an aesthetic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything was cardboard and in large stitches and had this kind of the Sackboy feel to it.
Yeah.
And Dreams seems to be removing that constraint.
Yeah.
I'm sure since their base content will have some kind of through line of that sort, but it seems way less concerned than its predecessor in enforcing that in player created content. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. We will see.
Don't know.
All right, I want to go off on a tangent. I could see this being really cool if they removed all the hard work from 3D modeling, where it's like you could just show it a picture and it would give you a 3D model of that if it was like smart enough to do it.
Yes.
Oh, 3D scanning. Interesting.
Let's see here. I'll do mine real quick because it's mostly just me remembering that a game is good. But so what is it? The Computer Electronics Show is happening right now. Mostly it's a bunch of people putting out bigger and quote better TV screens. It's a real weird time, but occasionally you get something gaming related. And there's a company that is apparently putting out, so it's a company called Arcade 1UP that puts out like 3/4 scale arcade cabinets and pinball games and things like that. And this the studio is actually putting out a cabinet of NBA Jam games. So NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and NBA Hang Time. That have actually an online multiplayer component built into it. And boy, that's cool. It's been a long time since I thought about NBA Jam. Those are good games, you guys. And
Welcome to the jam.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to play those on arcade again. However, I wouldn't buy one of these cabinets. There are many other arcade cabinets I would want to get, but like that is just a cool acquisition. It is a cool get.
This is one of those things where you just need a rich eccentric friend to get it for you.
Yeah.
Or to own it so you can go hang out and try it.
So these are relatively affordable. Let me see here. Like there's a a Burger Time one that you can pre-order, and it's in the order of like, now of course my browser is locked up. Fuck. But it's in the order of a few $100, right? Which is,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, so like the Star Wars home arcade game one is like $500. Which is a lot, but if you really like Star Wars games, there are crazier things that you could buy. They've got ones of like, Marvel superheroes games and things like that. Just kind of neat, You don't have to go to like a secondhand market to get these. Like you buy it from a company that will sell you all the pieces that you need, et cetera, et cetera. The problem about this is just like, oh, who has room for this? Like I would love to have you have
a house.
I do, but like, I don't know, like room is still at a premium, Yeah. But like,
we recently cleaned up our basement, so got some options.
I could get one in the drive 3 hours to visit it. Yeah.
That's it. You need to offer to store stuff for your friend who buys this crazy shit, and there you go. That's your game.
Yeah. The problem is I don't have a basement. If I had a basement, many other options would be available. But no, I was a chump and I bought a house on a slab. Oh,
hey,
well.
I did that for a long time. It's pretty great. Aside from it, it's not pretty great if anything bad happens.
Right. So yeah, NBA Jam. I kind of want to go fire that game up on SNES because that is a fun. Basketball games are fun. Round us out here, David. What's happening with the presidential primary and games, I kind of want to die.
Yeah, so someone made a Yang 2020 Path to the Presidency, which is a fighting game starring Andrew Yang.
I'm looking at the trailer, and there's a shot of like a 3D model of Andrew Yang talking to a 3D model of Joe Rogan on a podcast. I don't.
And I think fighting Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, what kind of the physical violence, like, I don't understand.
Here's a digital version of Yang chewing out a digital version of Rachel Maddow. So keep going.
I think my favorite is that Cory Booker is blatantly Tien from Dragon Ball.
Yeah, just weird. The culture on Yang is weird. It's like, go ahead.
There's a game like 4 years ago called, I think, Mr. President, where you played somebody to stop an assassination on Trump. So you just, like, the game mechanic was diving in front of bullets.
Yeah,
The win condition is not diving in front of bullets, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Is this can't be like sanctioned, can it?
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, what has he got to lose?
My favorite part of the Mr. President game is that your character's name in it is Dick Rockhard Johnson.
Yeah.
It's weird. People said that Bernie Sanders was Ron Paul for liberals, but turns out Andrew Yang is Ron Paul.
I also like that it shows the Unity screen and the trailer for the game. It's like, you can't get away from that.
No, I think you're contractually obligated to do that. Yeah. Actually, if you use Unity to make your thing,
which I feel like there's got to be some games where Unity's like, no, it's okay. You don't.
Yeah, we don't need to be associated.
We don't need to be associated with that. Ugh. David, I'm angry at you for bringing this to my attention.
Shame on you, David.
You gotta get on board with the Yang gang.
I'm kind of. If you've got thoughts on if you're gonna come at me and be angry that I am not into Yang, please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Anyway, so how do you guys feel about bundling it up?
If we don't have to talk about politics, then yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of The Level. Super happy you took the time. I had 2 hours to look up lyrics to any 311 song, but I did not.
Sounds like you made the right choice.
Yeah. So, the stuff that you can do. It hasn't changed in a good long while. We really appreciate you listening. If you can leave a rating or review, that's great. Go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. That is great as well. We, mention every episode how you can participate in the multiplayer. Thank you to everybody who writes in thoughtful responses to that. Just keep coming back. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
That sounds good.
Cool. I've been Kole Ross. You can watch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I've been Dennis Furia, and I'll be playing Pokemon with my kiddo.
Ooh.
You can find stuff about that maybe on twitch.tv/Deck of Wonders, but more likely about card game stuff.
Yeah.
I've been David Mysmith, and you can watch me, I guess, if you rent the apartment across the street.
Don't encourage them.
I thought you were going to go, you can watch me play with a 5-year-old. I'll go find one.
Oh, no.
I can get you a 5-year-old by 4 o'clock. And stick around for some titles. Gulag.
Yeah, guys, I saw that Escape from Tarkov like blew up on Steam over the weekend. I think they had some 5-year-olds playing.
What? What is Escape?
I saw
Random-
somebody playing that, but I don't know
It's
what
the
it
5-year-olds.
is.
It's the 5-year-olds.
Oh,
Is it like a shooter game?
Yeah, so
Yeah, a
it's
hardcore shooter
based-
that's been around for a long time and just
Okay.
for whatever reason hit its stride.
huh.
I saw
It's a spiritual successor to the Stalker series.
Oh, gotcha.
Is kind of what it's pitching itself as, but the people that made it have had a couple of instances of like just trying to like bully people that do bad reviews of it and stuff.
Oh, so doing bad. Oh, wow. They were actually like doing DMCAs to take down bad reviews. That sucks.
Oh, huh.
Ugh. Huh. Who has titles?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
I've got one, and honestly, it's because I recognized that I didn't write any down, and I was tickled by something I said. I've got a 5-year-old by 4.
It's not bad.
But that's all I've got.
I have Theaterms and Conditions. I've got Exercise That Exorcism Experience. I have Gravity and Thrust.
Okay.
And then finally, this is mostly recency, but I have Please Don't.
Okay. David, what you got?
Sure. So this one's a little long, but maybe we can cut it down. I have this thought I don't know what to do with, so you get it.
I'm just gonna put you get this thought.
Okay. I have not a Star Wars show yet.
Okay.
I have Groundhog's Day in space.
Okay.
And finally, I know that's inaccurate. Shut up.
When was that one used?
That was Dennis not understanding how decades work.
Okay.
And Ben, what you got?
I also have Theaterms and Conditions, and I also have back on my XCOM bullshit.
Okay. I'm going to make a case for Gravity and Thrust.
I have affection for that one. I was going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I like that. Ben, how do you feel?
My only reservation about it is it's listener generated and not podcast generated. But maybe that's just me feeling shame that our listeners are funnier than we are.
Oh, sometimes that happens. My
Well,
only
we said it. They wrote it, but we said it.
And we still copyright it, though.
no, we explicitly don't.
Not how it works.
My only reservation about pulling multiplayer or pulling a title from the multiplayer is if it involves a listener's name. But this one doesn't. It was just a fun phrase that a person included that we called attention to. So I like Gravity and Thrust.
All right.
Okay.
Sweet.
Cool. Well, have a good week, everybody.
Yeah, you guys as well. I have some Deep Rock Galactic to play here, apparently.
Ooh.
Definitely.
Nice.
Might be hopping on in a few minutes then.
Okay,
Right.
well let's do this thing.
Cool.
I am hopping to sleep, so I'll catch you guys next time.
Take care.
Peace, y'all.
Take care,
See you guys.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.